development right here on Live Now. Let's go out to the DOJ, where a former Louisville, Kentucky police officer was arrested by the FBI today on charges of civil rights violations in
I told them, hey mom, I spent 8 years on
connection with the 2020 raid on Breonna Taylor's apartment.
The Justice Department has charged 4 current and former Louisville Metro Police Department officers with federal crimes related to Ms. Taylor's death. Those alleged crimes include civil rights offenses, unlawful conspiracies, unconstitutional use of force, and obstruction offenses. The 4 defendants were charged through 2 separate indictments and 1 information. I'm going to begin today by discussing the civil rights offenses that stem from the falsification of a search warrant. We allege that these offenses resulted in Ms. Taylor's death. These charges focus on the conduct of the Louisville Metro Police Department's Place-Based Investigations Unit. In the first indictment filed today, we allege that in early 2020, that unit was investigating suspected drug trafficking in the west end of Louisville. On March 12, 2020, officers from that unit sought 5 search warrants they claimed were related to the suspected drug trafficking. 4 of those warrants targeted properties in the west end where that activity was allegedly occurring. A 5th search warrant was for Breonna Taylor's home, which was approximately 10 miles away from the west end. The federal charges announced today allege that members of the Place-Based Investigations Unit falsified the affidavit used to obtain the search warrant of Ms. Taylor's home, that this act violated federal civil rights laws, and that those violations resulted in Ms. Taylor's death. Specifically, we allege that Ms. Taylor's Fourth Amendment rights were violated when defendants Joshua James, Kyle Meany, and Kelly Goodlatte sought a warrant to search Ms. Taylor's home knowing that the officers lacked probable cause for the search. We allege that the defendants knew the affidavit in support of that warrant contained false and misleading information and that it omitted material information. Among other things, the affidavit falsely claimed that officers had verified that the target of the alleged drug trafficking operation had received packages at Ms. Taylor's address. In fact, defendants James and Goodlatte knew that was not true. We further allege that defendants James and Meany knew the search warrant would be carried out by armed LMPD officers and that conducting that search could create a dangerous situation for anyone who happened to be in Ms. Taylor's home. As outlined in the charging documents, the officers who ultimately carried out the search at Ms. Taylor's apartment were not involved in the drafting of the warrant and were unaware of the false and misleading statements it contained. When those officers executed the search warrant, Ms. Taylor was at home with another person who was in lawful possession of a handgun. When officers broke down the door to Ms. Taylor's apartment, that person, believing that intruders were breaking in, immediately fired 1 shot, hitting the first officer at the door. 2 officers immediately fired a total of 22 shots into the apartment. One of those shots hit Ms. Taylor in the chest and killed her. We allege that the defendants knew their actions in falsifying the affidavit could create a dangerous situation, and we allege these unlawful acts resulted in Ms. Taylor's death. The charges announced today also allege that the officers responsible for falsifying the affidavit that led to the search took steps to cover up their unlawful conduct after Ms. Taylor was killed. We allege that defendants James and Goodlatte conspired to knowingly falsify an investigative document that was created after Ms. Taylor's death. We also allege that they conspired to mislead federal, state, and local authorities who were investigating the incident. For example, we allege that in May 2020, those 2 defendants met in a garage where they agreed to tell investigators a false story. This indictment separately alleges that defendant Meany lied to the FBI during its investigation of this matter. Another indictment filed today alleges that after Ms. Taylor was shot, another LMPD officer, defendant Brett Hankeson, moved from the doorway to the side of her apartment and fired 10 more shots through a window and a sliding glass door, both of which were covered with blinds and curtains. Defendant Hankeson has been charged with 2 civil rights offenses, alleging that he willfully used unconstitutionally excessive force while acting in his official capacity as an officer.
I told him.
And that's basically it. Breonna Taylor should be alive today. 4 current and ex-LMPD officers charged in her death. You know. My thing is this. Okay? They're charged, right? The 4 cops are charged. Everybody's mad about how these 4 cops, okay, they messed up. Okay, these 4 cops, they screwed up. All right? They really messed up. They really did. All right? They screwed up. They destroyed, a family. But what people are not willing to ask the question is, what about making sure this doesn't happen again by telling black women the consequences of hanging out with drug dealers? Having the black community, all right, be told that they can no longer, and I'm talking about the black communities that are low income and have a crime problem. Okay? I'm talking about those type of communities, because not all black communities are ghettos and riddled with crime. There's pretty wealthy, affluent black communities, but Breonna Taylor's community is not that way. Okay? And there has to be said something about this. Okay? You have to say something about this. All right? There has to be said that no more are you going to tolerate drug traffickers in your community. No longer are you going to be tolerating black women that are going to be dating drug traffickers in your community. All right? Because the reason why, okay, her house was even considered is because of the history she had with Jamarcus Glover. That is why she's dead. If she didn't have a history with him, this wouldn't have happened. Okay? This would not have happened. But when you try to explain this to black people, African Americans, they get mad. They want to get emotional, especially some black women, because they don't want nobody telling them, the liberal black women, they don't want nobody telling them, okay, that their decisions can have some serious consequences. All right? They don't want to hear that. Especially, the liberal ones, in low-income areas who have bought into feminism, who have bought into this gynocentric philosophy that is not helping you in any way but just making you a single mother, okay, being promiscuous, having toxic ideas, it's not helping them when it comes to relations with the opposite sex. It's not helping them to marry good partners, and the only thing it's helping them is to have a bunch of kids with different last names. Okay, I've had discussions and people talk to me about, well, what about Corin Gaines? Okay, killed by race soldiers. What they don't tell you is that the SWAT team came to her place because the boyfriend she was dealing with, okay, had a warrant for his arrest because he was a drug dealer. And Corin Gaines decides to pick up a shotgun and aim it at one of the officers while she's holding her toddler son on her other arm. She ends up dying. Okay? She ends up dying. It's not murder. It was self-defense. They're there to do a job. You are dealing with somebody that deals drugs. And here's the kicker. Corin Gaines' boyfriend leaves with his kid out through the back door while she's dying of a gunshot wound. Now her son has to grow up without a mother. Even before that, there's a video, you can look it up online. Corin Gaines is pulled over by police because she's driving around in a car with a piece of wood as a back license plate for the car. When the cops who come to approach her, she's telling her toddler son, I want you to fight the police. I want you to fight the police. Okay? The cops were not belligerent with her at all. They were very calm. They were very compassionate towards Corin Gaines. They're very empathetic to Corin Gaines. Okay? Very empathetic. Very patient. I commended those officers. Putting up with the nonsense that was spewing out of her mouth. I talked about Dominique Clayton. Okay? Dominique Clayton was a black single mother who was having a relationship with a married white cop down south. Okay? Who, according to reports, was paying her rent, helping her to get a car. Okay? When Matthew Kenny told her that he can no longer help her pay for the rent for her place, she decides to threaten to expose him to his wife. In other reports before leading up to this, she put up with him stalking him and all this stuff. Just to have somebody do fulfill her responsibilities that she didn't want to do. Come on now. They're your kids. You're a single mother. You made a bad decision in picking the man for your kids. It's up to you to pick up the slack and take care of your kids. No, you go off and try to find an easy way out by trying to have a relationship with a married man who was a police officer. Then you threaten to expose him. It is sad that Dominique Clayton died, but she chose to be in a relationship she had no business being in. Her mother knew, and her sister knew, that she was messing around with a married white man. That married white man, Matthew Kenny, ended up killing her. Her 8-year-old son had to go and find his mother with a gunshot wound to the back of his head, to the back of her head, to the back of her head, laying in her bed in a pool of blood. It's a good thing that the kids weren't around, because they would have died too, probably. See, this is what some of these liberal black women don't want to understand. There are consequences for your actions. Okay? That's what they don't understand. And when you lay it out there by the facts, people get mad. People want to get mad, especially some black women. They get mad because you're telling the truth, that there's consequences for your actions. Even in the news interview, Dominique Clayton's mother said, "Oh, he was gonna get her a house. He was gonna get her a car." You knew your daughter. You knew your sister is doing something that could get you all killed, and it didn't register in your brains. This gotta stop. I got grandbabies. I'm not gonna be here in this world that much longer, and I want my daughter to be alive still. Okay, Dominique, stop this. This is stupid. All right? That's it. Okay? But when you mention these things, it's a problem. Okay? What about dealing with the root cause of this? Oh, I was told I was out there. You're babbling. Now here's the thing. When I hear things like this, it shows me you really don't want any justice. You just not willing to look at facts. Because this will happen again. Other ethnic groups, other communities, strong-knit communities, they check the fools and the clowns in their communities. They make sure you don't embarrass them. You don't do things that everybody else within that family unit will suffer. They work with the cops because deep down they know cops could be scumbags, but not every cop is a scumbag behind a badge. So they realize they need cops. They don't want to go to organizations like Black Lives Matter that really isn't about helping blacks, but is a puppet group for Democrats and George Soros. Groups that say things like, you know, we are trained Marxists. Okay? That's what they're like. All right? You see, a lot of black people, they don't do research when it comes to groups like this. They don't. They see them as, oh, Black Lives Matter is for everyone. No, it's not. It's for the black community. No, they're against traditional black family. Okay? They want women running the show. And if any man is in the Black Lives Matter organization, they have to be a soy boy and they gotta be alphabet. Patrisse Cullors said herself, Black Lives Matter organization, we are trained Marxists. Trained Marxists. None of these black people who uplift them want to look up Karl Marx. The man was a racist. Why are you listening to an organization that got inspiration from Karl Marx? We are trained Marxists. No, nobody wants to look that up. But when a black person actually does look this stuff up and sees Black Lives Matter organization is a joke, you get called coon, you get called a clown. No, I'm not Republican either. Okay? But I see I see what's going on. What's getting these black women killed. But they don't want to acknowledge that. Because one, there's no money in it. Two, accountability is a kryptonite to some liberal women, especially liberal black women who are democratic. Okay. But what about Republicans? We're not talking about them right now. That's another type of plantation right there in and of itself. All right? But that's the thing. For some reason, some black liberal folks don't like talking about the history of Breonna Taylor. The fact that, not only was she had a history of dealing with a drug dealer, that she let her place be used as a trap spot, which put her under investigation for 4 years, which was the reason why they just have her name pop up, because she was under police surveillance for 4 years, having cars come to her house, pick up and drop off every 15 minutes for 4 years. That's why, hey, we'll just look up Breonna Taylor's place. Okay? It's sad how things went down. It was botched. The no-knock warrant. But the reality is she had no business with him at all. If she wasn't helping Jamarcus Glover with his drug trafficking, she would be alive today. Okay? If Corin Gaines got help for the mental illness she was suffering, because she was talking type crazy in that police cam footage. She was talking crazy to the police officers when they pulled her over because she was driving around without a license plate on the back part of her vehicle. She was talking crazy. If she had not have a relationship, if Corin Gaines didn't have a relationship with a drug dealer, she would be alive today. If Dominique Clayton had not been messing around with a married man who was a police officer and was paying her own rent, handling her own responsibilities as a parent should for their kids, she would be alive today. This is what I'm talking about. Accountability. People say you're shame blaming and explaining. I'm just stating facts because it will happen again. Asia Maynard. You have kids. You want to go over to some man's house that you met on a first date, and you want to go and get hit and take fentanyl. You know how powerful fentanyl is? It will kill you. First try. All right? Lauren Smith Fields. She was being a sex worker on the side. The people trying to make it a racial issue. She was doing sex work on the side, man. How was she picked up that other dude? I'm not saying every black person who gets killed by police is responsible for their own death, but you have to look at the facts of the situation, and it may determine that. It may. When it comes to Breonna Taylor, you look at the information, yeah, it does. You look at the information with Dominique Clayton, yeah, it does. You look at the information of Corin Gaines, yes, it does. You're a single mother, cops break into the house, you already messed up dating a drug dealer, and you decide to pick up a gun and point it at cops. How else was that situation going to play out? I feel bad for Breonna Taylor's family, but these are the facts. when it came out with Breonna Taylor, the incident that happened, people were mad at the cops. But when you look into the information, nobody was mad at the fact that you bailed out a drug trafficker that is selling drugs in our community. Nobody looked at the fact that she took out $5,000 and bailed out a parasite of the black community, of the low-income black communities. Where are the black parents? Aren't you mad that this woman was involved with a drug dealer that was selling drugs in your community? Aren't you mad that this woman had a promising career, but she threw it away to let some drug dealer use her car that was rented in her name, only to have a dead body in it afterwards? What happened to black women that say protect black girls, protect black women? What about protect black women from their poor dating choices by telling them, you know what, this is wrong. We, as black women, those of us who know what we're talking about, we need to stop dating these drug dealers. This fast money. It's not good. Now, some of us grew up without fathers, but we can't keep having that as an excuse. We have to stop this. Too many of our black sisters are dying or losing their lives or ruining the lives of their kids because they chose the man because he had fast money. We got to stop this cycle. All right. That's all I got to say. If you like the content, give it a like. Let me know in the comment section what you think about it. What you think about this. Does this solve anything? Because there will be other Breonna Taylors. Another thing, Breonna Taylor was also dating a drug dealer. Okay? Kenneth Walker, that was in that house, she was dating another drug dealer. Because according to police who found the text messages in Kenneth Walker's phone, he was going to be selling pills to waitresses at Hooters, and he was planning to rob somebody for $25,000. So here's the thing. Let's say Breonna Taylor probably wasn't going to get, let's just say, if the cops didn't come to execute a no-knock warrant on her house. Let's say they got it right. Kenneth Walker was probably going to be opening the door for her to get killed one way or the other. Possibly. If it wasn't going to be Jamarcus Glover, it was going to be Kenneth Walker, or probably somebody else, because you see a pattern here. Jamarcus Glover was a drug dealer. Kenneth Walker selling pills to waitresses at Hooters. Don't tell me he was selling Tylenol. Don't tell me he was selling Robitussin. Just saying. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Later.